that civilizations have been visiting us for a very long time, that their appearance is bizarre from any kind of traditional materialistic Western point of view. They use toroids, they use co-rotating magnetic disks for their propulsion systems. That seems to be a common denominator of the UFO phenomenon and how they can work, manipulate time and space locally so that they can have their own anti-gravity propulsion and their own field of energy that's isolated, gravitational field, electrogravitational field that's different.
And about what he saw on a test pilot flight in 1952. Deke Slayton.
As I closed on this thing, why, it looked like a weather balloon, and that's what I presumed it was. And I had plenty of gas and time, so I decided I'd just come back around and make a pass on it. And I got around where I should have been coming back on this thing. All of a sudden, it didn't look like a balloon anymore. It looked like a saucer sitting on edge, about a 45-degree angle. I didn't have any gun camera film on board, unfortunately, or I'd have shot some pictures of it. And about that time, I guess whatever it was, for whatever reason, just took off climbing at about a 45-degree angle and just accelerated and disappeared. And I obviously couldn't follow it with an old piston engine fighter. So I turned around and went home.
Well, that was I was having some cameramen film the installation of a precision landing facility we were putting in right on the edge of the dry lake, and this saucer flew right over them and put down 3 little gear and landed out on the dry lake bed. And they went out to picked up their cameras and moved on out toward him filming. And he lifted off, put the gear back in the well, and climbed out at a very high rate of speed and disappeared. And so while I was going through all the regulation books and finding out the number to call in Washington to report it, I had them go over and develop the film. By the time they got back with the developed film, I was on the higher and higher and higher level officer talking to me. Finally with the colonel telling me to, when the film arrived at my desk, to put it in the carrier pouch. There would be a courier there at my office by that time already, and they'd arranged for him to fly in our base airplane back to Washington with these films. And do not run prints, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we stuck them in the courier pouch.
Did you watch the film?
We didn't have a chance to run it. I had a chance to hold it up to the window and look at it. It was certainly a good film.
Good close-up shots?
Good close-up shot. In my opinion, I think they were worried that it would panic the public if they knew that someone had vehicles that had this kind of performance, way back right after World War II, period of time. So they started telling lies about it. And then I think they had to cover another lie, and tell another lie to cover their first lie, and now they don't know how to get out of it. Now it's going to be so embarrassing to admit that all these administrations have told a lot of untruths that it's going to be embarrassing to get out of it.
I interviewed Gordon Cooper, Mercury astronaut Gordon Cooper, back in the 90s. Cooper said on camera that there was a landed UFO at circa 1957 at Edwards Air Force Base. His camera crew captured the filming of this object, and he presented this to the higher-ups, and eventually a courier jet came in from Washington. He handed the footage over, which was good. He viewed it.
That's the last he saw of it.
Exactly. Did you know where that footage went of the flying saucer that landed on the tarmac?
Went to Washington, that's all that I know.
Did you try to go after stuff like this?
We did. We have. It's there.
It still hasn't seen the light of day?
I'm saying most of it hasn't seen the light of day.
We can help. We can join with. Together, we can explore the moon and develop the moon. We should go boldly where man has not gone before. Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours.
There seems to have been, over the last 50 years at least, and more, a great deal of secrecy surrounding the so-called UFO event. It's a very complex subject. We're not dealing with something that's very simple here. If we take well, we have sightings of all sorts. There have been reported thousands and thousands of sightings for 50 years or so. Large numbers of those sightings are indeed misperceiving natural phenomenon in some way. But a large number of them are not misperceiving. They seem to be well-documented events that represent flying craft that do not match anything we have in an earthbound arsenal, which is very short of saying we have validated in the public domain that they are ET craft. We have to rely upon that to get better answers. We have to rely upon people who have been there and interacted, have first-hand data. The only people I know of that claim to have been in that position are former intelligence, military, and government people, and some contractor people, whose official duties in the early days were to investigate this and know about it. Those people were under, at that time, great restrictions and high security clearance that prevented them from telling the general public about it. It would appear that period is long past, but they're still under security restriction, or at least believe they are. There have been ET visitation, there have been crashed craft, there have been material and bodies recovered, and there is some group of people somewhere that may or may not be associated with government at this point, but certainly were at one time, that have this knowledge and have been attempting to conceal this knowledge or not permit it to be widely disseminated.
Gene, we had NASA's Exoplanet Discovery Chief here last summer, and he said they now believe there are at least hundreds of billions of undiscovered planets out there. Just this week, astronomers found hundreds of new galaxies behind the Milky Way. What do you make of that?
Think about how much we don't know about our own existence, how long we've been here. Discovery. You're asking me that question because we're interested in knowing the answers. We want to know, is there life on somewhere out there?
Mitchell, who just died, right?
Yeah.
He believed that he definitely is.
Well, I do too. But if anyone believes like I do, and there's a lot of people do, that there is a creator of this universe, there is, it's a spiritual statement, not a religious statement, but there is a God. Dress him by any way you want, there is a God. I know, I've been there, I've seen a little bit of his creation. How can I be so arrogant to believe that he created life here on this planet
and nowhere else?
Well, I'm going to stick my neck out about how many people think I saw a UFO when I was up there. And I did. I mean, I saw things in the true sense of the word, unidentified flying objects. Don't take me out of context with that first quote. I had no aliens knocking, but, I saw stuff where I'd call my crewmates over, Stroetta, what the heck is that? And we'd look, and sometimes it was metallic, and it was, looked like a spoon, if you will, off in the distance. And the problem in space, good luck figuring out if it's a really small object close by, something that floated out of the airlock like a spoon, or is it something 100,000 miles away that's the size of a big spacecraft? And it's very hard to distinguish that. Usually it was, something you could kind of explain, probably an ice chunk off the external tank or something like that. But you'd see things, as you're saying, Nicole, that, you go, wow, that's cool. I don't know what that was exactly, but it's not a satellite because it's, doing something different, and it's pretty cool to see something like that. And you definitely, just like when you see something and discover something, it's like, hey, everyone, come on, I don't care what you're doing. Get over here and take a look. What do you think that thing is?
There was a huge sphere. I think it appeared when we were over Newfoundland. The sea was in the background. It was shining, sparkling, of absolutely even shape. It shone like the balls that hang on trees at Christmas, greenish in color and all shimmering. It was impossible to take your eyes off it.
Certainty, there are hugely advanced civilizations, intelligences, life forms out there. I believe they're so advanced that they're even doing interstellar travel. I believe it's possible they came here. Nothing that I have seen personally has the signature, has those characteristics which you would attribute to other forms of intelligence or other kinds of craft. Twice I saw what I call my eel, which I don't know the size of it because I don't know how far away it was, but it was like a rubber piece of hose which had internal motions in it. Maybe it's 8 feet, maybe it's 10, I'm not sure. When you can't tell how far away, you can't get the size, so I'm missing both of those things, size and how far away. But there's no question it had internal motion.
I looked out the window and saw an object of such a triangular shape. The bright white one that was above us. It is really an isosceles triangle. Scientists quickly calculated that approximately one side is about 100 meters. What is an isosceles triangle? Such an aircraft does not exist on Earth that it can fly in profile. Triangle, and even more wild to the point of impossibility.